got Danielle. She's actually been behind the camera since the beginning. She's going to take over and be a host here today. So Danielle, thank you so much for coming on. I'll pass it over to you, and now I'll answer the questions instead.
All right, Matt. Well, I'm glad that we got you here to actually learn a little bit more about Abra Kadabra. So can you tell me a little bit about the backstory behind Abra Kadabra?
Yeah, so this is one question that I get asked all the time. So we're a second generation company. So my father did not start the company. It was my father-in-law, and he had worked for a local competitor for a while. And after like 10 or so years, he chose to like go off and start his own thing. And at that point, marketing was, we're talking yellow pages. So AAA, pest control, or like they wanted A and B to be at the beginning. So my wife and her sisters actually came up with the idea of calling it Abra Kadabra because of obviously the alphabet. But in addition to that, like my father-in-law used to talk about how when you have like a pest control gear, they kind of just like let you everywhere. So like you could show up and like just get let into a bank vault, or just get let into like a secure thing that's like research and development, because the pests are going to find their way there and cause damage. So that's kind of where the name came from. And then yeah, he just ran a solo business for 15 years, grew a local customer base in the northwest suburbs out of his house. And my wife and I were actually neighbors, so we lived across the street from each other growing up. And I really got to see, like, there was one business's truck in the driveway one day, and then like 2 weeks later it looked really similar, but the name was very different. And I remember that because I would always like be out shooting hoops. And I remember like literally that day when kind of he started the business, and yeah, really was, I don't know, the big bang of Abra Kadabra, if you will.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about the mission and values of Abra Kadabra?
Yeah. So part of our core, like our ethos, like it goes back to that opportunity that I had. So as I went off to college and had absolutely no intent of taking over my father-in-law's business, and after I left my parents' house, I was planning to go be a doctor or be a professional baseball player. Like those were kind of the two options I had in my mind. Neither of those worked out, but kind of towards the end, I had some opportunity to work with my father-in-law, just because I had redshirted. I had a lot of free time, literally 1 hour of class a week, and then baseball. So rather than just sitting around twiddling my thumbs, I started working with him and just kind of saw the opportunity within the business. And that opportunity is really kind of the core mission that, like, although it wasn't my intent, like most people when they enter the pest control industry, for like the opportunity I had at that point in my life, like it literally changed the complete trajectory for me. And so now, like, my mission and the things that really drive me, my why, if you will, is behind creating additional opportunities for other people in our organization or people that we interact with just throughout the course of doing business. And I just want to create as much opportunity for others as possible to help them like grow and achieve, and ultimately do the same thing for other people.
Now, you touched on the mission. What are our 4 core values?
Core values, I mean, really it comes down to like kind of what could be basic, but like everything centers around it. So we take pride in what we do. That's everything, especially when other people aren't looking. We build trust throughout all of our interactions, whether it's with our employees, with our customers, vendors, whatever it might be. We work hard to build that trust. We're trailblazers. I mean, that's kind of just part of how I am naturally. Like I know what the upcoming questions are, so I'm gonna go to those. So like trailblazing, really like being willing to do things that maybe other people haven't. Like as we were growing the company, like literally I was like, hey, all you businesses look exactly the same. You guys wear the same uniforms, trucks are the same. I'm gonna do whatever you guys aren't doing. So like the polarizingly opposite side of the coin. And like innovation trailblazing, like being at that leading edge of the industry and the local market to accelerate what we can do as a business. Like I said, a lot of it's just kind of basic, but like those are kind of the core pillars. But then we go off of as we're going through the learning process of growing as a business. So when we're hiring, it's part of those conversations. When we have learning opportunities for individuals or people, it's part of those opportunities as well. Like we tie it back to we take pride in what we do. We like build trust, and there's a lot of different ways we can do that. So it's kind of those keywords that open up like a door to a lot of additional conversation, and that's really where the learning and the mission or values can expand more than just that really limiting singular word. Because it, like with all that, with the exception of trailblazing, because I love that one just being off in the corner and like, why is this word even involved? But like the other words, like they kind of commingle.
Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
I think core values are kind of corny for some businesses if they don't like actually do something with them. So we try to, or we have to make it part of like everything we do and ask ourselves those questions.
So when it comes to the very beginning of Abra Kadabra, what were some of the major obstacles and thresholds that you guys had to figure out?
Well, I don't really know because I wasn't there at the very beginning. I didn't come around
when you took over.
Okay, so my father-in-law, my mother and father-in-law ran the company for forever. I ended up taking it over in 2017, April 1st of 2017, right before I had my son, my first child with my wife. So like all the obstacles, like literally every single one. Like I wish I took one business class in school. Like I just like grew up figuring out how to buy stuff for one and sell it for two and just like make money. But in business, like there's like rules and like a lot of like confusion if you don't have good resources. So some of the obstacles I realized early on was not necessarily access to knowledge because like the internet's huge, but like I don't even know what the heck I need to know. I know there's a bunch of stuff I don't know. So I would just put myself in front of those key decision makers or like the subject matter experts. Like I saw through how I was kind of brought up how debt could be a bad thing. My parents went into a lot of debt to send me and my brothers to private school and set us up for success. So, like, I stayed really far away from debt. I was really focused on ensuring the finances were in place. Unfortunately, I got to see like what it looked like to go through it as a business and see how distracting that was. So, there were some things that were really blessings getting to see kind of a business run that was maybe run different than kind of what my vision was. I got to learn from other people's mistakes. Hardest things, separating work from life. Like that's one of the key benefits of running a business, but it can consume you. Like, and I was like obsessed in ensuring the success because of the opportunity I got. Like it would have been really easy to just like coast and not grow it and still like have a pretty solid life. And that just wasn't appealing to me. So I don't even remember the question originally, but
well, what are some of the key milestones since you've taken over the company that you really are like, okay, I made it to this, I got to this, I got to that. What are some of those things?
So I really look at that like when certain people come into the picture, certain opportunities are created. Like so early on, like just finding a space to organize like a business that wasn't my garage. I was waking up my newborn every time a guy had to come and pick up some some material. So like we were very disorganized. I remember our first spot was like literally a room in what was a house that got converted to offices. And I remember the people that were there more than the business. I remember like how I had no idea what I was doing and I literally like learning as I was going, kind of still doing that now. And then like how important structures and systems was kind of leading right into when we got our first location in Mound and we became like a visible business, not just like a guy in a business and he's got a truck, but where's the business? I think permanence for people is like really key. And then like when I got out of the truck,
yeah,
that
how long has that been?
Probably like 4 years now. Like I'm speaking at a conference down in Florida, like how pivotal that was for like our ability to grow, and really like growing as a business, like for everybody, like it's determined by like how fast is the CEO or the owner of that business progressing. For like these startups, unless there's a level of sophistication from the founder or the CEO when they're coming into it, they got to learn a bunch of shit. And yeah, so I got with some good, like I said earlier, like subject matter experts. So I work with the best coach in the pest control industry, and like he's really helped us, or helped me, like zoom out from the business, which was I couldn't do when I was just behind the truck. So it was November of 2020.
Okay.
So it was not that long ago. What was that, like 3 years? 4 years? That'll be 4 years.
It'll be 4 years. So when it comes to that, looking back, what are some of the most important lessons you learned as a business owner?
Listen to people, ask questions, ask the right questions, be humble, stand behind, like do the shit you say you're going to do, and then like a little bit extra. Some of the things like have like a real vision. Like, what the heck do you want to do? When I first started the company, like we're way past where the heck I thought was even like a reality. Like I didn't know like I wanted to like have maybe like a nice truck and more customers and a business that was making money, that so I could have a family. I didn't realize pest control is a multi-billion-dollar industry and everybody needs it. And if you have a unique offering, you can grow really quickly with just like the core principles I was brought up with. I don't remember what the hell the question was here. I'm just talking.
No, that's okay. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in the pest control industry? Based on your experience, what are some of the things that they need to know?
I mean, I wouldn't just come work for me instead if that's what you really want to do. We can give you more opportunity here. But no, the opportunity in the pest control space is fantastic. Some of the things I would say is like get your finances figured out. It's harder than you think it is. Like, I don't care what company you work for and how much you think your boss is making. Like, it's way harder. The sacrifices that my family's had to make, like, is a lot.
And what are some of the things that, as the owner of the company, that you do differently for your employees?
I give them, like, I try to remove the ceiling. And like by growing a company, like if you're not just like totally bankrolled and just hiring people from outside, bringing in the best talent, you got to build people and develop leaders to then have an organization and something that kind of can run itself. And in order to do that, people need to be inspired. They need to want to like follow you. And with my competitive nature, you can't just like pound it down their throat. And I learned that the hard way, just like trying to really understand people. So that's what I try to do now, and like learn what their goals are and then try to help them hit them. Because it's so much more rewarding for me to see that happen than to just make a bunch of money. So,
well, I think as someone who works for you, the culture is something that is super important to you. And I see it every time I see the people that I work with. So what do you do differently that creates the culture that we have?
Just give a shit about people. Like, it's pretty easy. Yeah, just want to like talk to them regularly to provide support, and like realize like when they're showing up to work, or when they're showing up or not showing up to work, or something's changed, like they got a lot of shit going on. That's not work. And for people to think that it's just this work all the time thing and none of this other shit impacts you, like that's like you're very mistaken. And so like asking, like trying to avoid those questions by proactively communicating on the front end. But if something does come up and there's some type of behavioral issue, like seeing what's going on at home, like maybe they've just like been busting their ass and they just need like a long weekend or something, right? Like stuff Absolutely. Like that. But you got to pay attention. Otherwise you never really like know what's going on. Try to let people fail, trust them to fail, because that's where the magic is. It's where they grow and learn it, like if they're bought in. But it, like if you want it to be done, like taking yourself like out of the truck where I was and like wanting to just have it all perfect, because I was doing it and I didn't like that was my fear growing the company. I never wanted to not have this level of expertise or customer service for my customer. But like when I first made that transition, I didn't like trust anybody to do the the stuff I wanted them to. So I was always like telling them how it wasn't how I would have done it or something like that, rather than like redefining what the expectation or goal was and the measurement, so that as a team we can be like a cohesive unit that like gets a bunch of shit done and supports each other.
And making sure that everybody gets the same quality service every time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like that's standing behind like what you do and building trust, like because sometimes like bugs come back. That's why our services are year round, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't answer the phone when they call you, like we're not like that's part of why people choose us, is because we are easy to get a hold of and can communicate proactively, but also like when they really need us or they have a question, like it's really easy and it's human. It's not like this awkward, weird, formal press one for like you just call our team takes care of you, and it's super simple.
So, what is one thing you hope that people remember about Abra Kadabra as a company?
Remember, I mean, we're not going anywhere. So remember, I think I don't like that question. First of all, remember is the past tense thing. One thing I think people should know about Abracadabra is that they're going to see a lot more of us, and we're going to continue to grow, and our team's going to continue to grow. It's a great place to work.
It is, for sure.
We let other people be part of the growth. It's way bigger than me now, and like I think like just a culture of learning.
Absolutely.
Through failure, through experience, through like you got in business, you got to do stuff, and when you do stuff and you're like doing new stuff, it's hard and you fail, and that's where you learn. But if like we just like never want to have that period of time that is failure, then you're really boring, and that's where you're going to stay for your whole life, and it's hard to grow outside of that. And that like that type of person doesn't really like fit at Abracadabra, and it like we're growing and it's exciting, and yeah, so like you're gonna see us a lot more.
So, question for you.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love, and one of the reasons why I chose to work for Abra Kadabra, is the community outreach. What made you decide to do that as a business owner?
Well, to be honest, like at first it wasn't like wasn't as strategic as some people might think. Like it was very like that's just how I was raised.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like the transactional part of business is the understood part. Like in order for a business to exist, there must be a customer and a business with some type of exchange of currency and services or goods, whatever, for there to be like business. So by doing just that, they're like just merely doing like the obligatory service to the community that we serve. And like that's I don't know, like that's you're supposed to give back. For me, it's hard to like make it be a decision because it's just like part of like how my brothers and I were raised. So it's like really natural that way. And if you only interact as a business with the community and the people that you serve, you're really just trying to sell people shit. You don't actually care.
Yeah.
And that for me, like we care too much about everything, and that's like because I'm really a big softie. Like
so what are
I'm
some
really
of the
emotional.
Things? What are some of the things that we do to give back to the community?
It's just everything. Like we like a percent of a lot of income a percent of our income goes back into different outreaches, whether it's Paws for Paws or other nonprofits. Like it's really like this ever expanding portfolio of philanthropic efforts that we have because our community is growing and community is powerful, especially when it comes together. So we just try to be there to try to facilitate and support that as much as possible, because that's what's important. Pest control is not really important. It's important to me, and that's why businesses trust us, and that's why our company's been able to grow, because me and our team, like, we care about pest control, but we know most people don't care about pest control as much as we do. Absolutely. And so we can't just focus on that. Why? Otherwise it's just a superficial like facade of an interaction with the people, which is really what the business is. If there are no people, there's no like business. It's no B2C, B2B, like it's H to H, human to human. And so go there and like interact with your customer there is a natural thing that didn't talk about it. Like my parents didn't talk about that, but they showed us every single day.
They showed it, and we're a great example for it. That's great to hear. So how do people get a hold of us?
Call us, text us, like whatever you see, like there's probably like a click here and it'll call us. 763-537-0330. That's like our main line. We've got a couple social media accounts, so you could probably reach out to any of those, whatever's easiest for you. But if you got a pest issue, call us there. If you want to hit us up for Homegrown Hustle, you can probably hit us up there too. We just try to make it simple. So whatever's easiest for people to communicate.
Okay, so here's the last question and the most important question. What does hustle mean to you?
Never satisfied. Still going. Forwards ever. Like there's no, that's it. Never satisfied.
Well, thanks so much for letting me host today and kind of giving a little bit of the story of how Abra Kadabra came to be and what our mission is. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience?
Appreciate everybody. Like we're just getting started, so this is probably going to be like a interesting thing to look back on. But if you got questions about anything, just reach out. Like we're always happy to help. I love growing small businesses, and I think it's a really evolutionary thing to do as a human, and I think more people should do it, really. So hit me up.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
All right. You did a great job. Everyone, round of applause. We should get the most likes, comments, and shares on all this. And I teared up a little bit, so we're probably going to get a bunch just because of that, because everyone likes feelings, right?
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eickman signing off until our next insightful episode.